Welcome to Fear Factory. Before we dive into today's chilling tales, I have a quick question for you. Where are you watching from right now? Are you curled up in a cozy spot at home, or are you out and about? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy spine-tingling stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Your support helps me bring more terrifying and captivating tales straight to you. Now, turn off the lights, grab a blanket, and get ready for a journey into the unknown. The Ural Mountains are a place of unforgiving beauty, their icy peaks and vast stretches of wilderness holding secrets as old as the earth itself. In the winter of 1959, 9 young adventurers set out to explore this harsh terrain, unaware that their journey would end in one of the most chilling and perplexing mysteries of the 20th century. The group, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, was composed of 8 men and women, all students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnical Institute. They were experienced hikers, accustomed to the challenges of the Russian wilderness. Their plan was to reach the peak of Otorten, a mountain in the northern Urals, and return home with the pride of having conquered one of the most difficult treks in the region. On January 25th, the group arrived in the small settlement of Azai, the last outpost of civilization before their ascent into the mountains. From here, they would begin the trek that would take them through the frozen forests and up the slopes of the Ural Range. They were in high spirits, excited by the challenge ahead. Photographs taken by the group show them smiling, laughing, and preparing their gear, unaware of the fate that awaited them. As they ventured deeper into the wilderness, the landscape grew increasingly desolate. The trees thinned, giving way to vast expanses of snow-covered tundra. The wind was a constant companion, howling through the valleys and whipping across the frozen ground. The temperature dropped steadily, plunging into the sub-zero depths that could sap a man's strength in minutes. On January 31st, the group reached the edge of a highland area, where they made camp for the night. They were now on the slopes of Koletsyakhl, a mountain known to the indigenous Mansi people as the Mountain of the Dead. It was a name that would soon take on a terrifying significance. The following day, they began their ascent of Koletsyakhl, intending to cross the pass and continue toward Otorten. But as the weather worsened, with strong winds and heavy snowfall, they decided to stop and set up camp on the exposed slope of the mountain. It was a decision that has puzzled experts and investigators ever since. Why would they choose such a perilous location rather than the relative safety of the forested area below? Perhaps they were simply exhausted, or perhaps they underestimated the severity of the storm. Whatever the reason, it would be their final camp. What happened next is a matter of speculation pieced together from the scant evidence left behind. Sometime during the night, something terrified the group so completely that they fled their tent in a state of panic. They slashed the tent open from the inside and ran out into the snow, barefoot and barely dressed, despite the deadly cold. The temperatures that night were estimated to be around minus 30 degrees Celsius, conditions in which exposure would lead to death within minutes. Their footprints, preserved in the snow, show that they scattered in different directions, some heading towards the forest and others towards the ravine. But as they ran, the cold began to take its toll. The first bodies were found in the forest, near the remains of a small fire. They were half-dressed, their skin blackened by frostbite. It was clear they had tried to light a fire to stay warm, but it had been too little too late. The remaining members of the group were found later, their bodies scattered across the slope and in the ravine below. Some had suffered horrific injuries, broken ribs, crushed skulls. Yet there were no signs of a struggle, no external wounds that could explain the force required to cause such damage. The official cause of death was listed as hypothermia, But the mystery of their injuries and the bizarre circumstances of their deaths have led to endless speculation. Some believe the group was attacked by an unknown force, perhaps wild animals or even a Yeti-like creature rumored to inhabit the region. Others suggest they were victims of a secret Soviet military experiment, caught in the crossfire of a missile test, or exposed to some kind of weapon. The area around the Dyatlov Pass was known to be used for military exercises, and some of the hikers' clothing was found to be radioactive, adding to the speculation. Another theory posits that the hikers were driven to madness by infrasound, low-frequency sound waves generated by the wind as it passed over the mountains. This phenomenon, known as the Kármán vortex street, has been documented to cause feelings of unease, anxiety, and even panic in those exposed to it. It's possible that the infrasound created by the storm triggered a state of irrational fear in the group, causing them to flee their tent in a blind panic. Then there are the more supernatural explanations. Some believe the group was cursed, their deaths the result of some ancient, malevolent force that still haunts the mountains. The Mansi people consider Kholat cycle to be a place of great spiritual significance, and some have speculated that the hikers disturbed something they shouldn't have, invoking the wrath of the mountain. Whatever the truth, it remains elusive. The Dyatlov Pass incident has become one of the most enduring mysteries of the modern age, inspiring books, documentaries, and countless theories. But despite the many investigations and re-examinations of the case, no one has been able to definitively explain what happened that night in the Ural Mountains. The area where the group perished is now known as Dyatlov Pass, a stark reminder of the tragedy that unfolded there. It is a place where nature's beauty and terror coexist, where the winds still howl through the valleys and the mountain stands silent, guarding its secrets. For those who venture into the wilderness, it serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lie beyond the edge of civilization, where the line between life and death can be as thin as a breath of wind, as fleeting as the light of a distant star. In the years since the incident, many have attempted to retrace the group's steps, to experience for themselves the isolation and the cold that must have pressed down on the hikers as they made their final desperate flight. Some have even claimed to have felt an inexplicable presence, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes. But the mountain keeps its secrets well, and the only witnesses to what truly happened that night are the wind and the snow, and the silent, frozen landscape that stretches out beneath the stars. The Dyatlov Pass incident is a story of mystery and horror, a tale of ordinary people caught up in extraordinary circumstances. It is a reminder that there are still places in this world where the unknown lurks, where even the most experienced adventurers can find themselves lost in the dark, facing forces beyond their understanding. And as long as the Ural Mountains stand, their peaks shrouded in snow and shadow, the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass will endure, a haunting echo of a night that will never be forgotten. The small, quiet town of Haverfordwest in Wales was the kind of place where secrets festered in the shadows, where the stillness of the air carried whispers of stories better left untold. It was in this somber town that the Gibbons family lived, and among them, June and Jennifer, two identical twins whose silence would echo through history as one of the strangest and most chilling cases of psychological horror. From birth, the twins were inseparable, their bond so strong that they appeared to communicate in a language only they understood. To the outside world, they were mute, refusing to speak to anyone, including their own family. Their silence was not just an act of defiance. It was a fortress, a barrier against a world they seemed to reject with a quiet but palpable hostility. As the years passed, the twins' behavior became increasingly bizarre. They moved in perfect synchrony, mirroring each other's actions with unnerving precision. Their parents, bewildered and concerned, sought help from doctors and psychologists, but no one could penetrate the wall of silence the girls had erected around themselves. The isolation of the twins deepened, and they began to retreat further into their own world, a place where reality and fantasy blurred into one. They kept meticulous diaries, writing obsessively about their inner thoughts and desires, but even these entries were filled with cryptic messages and strange symbols that defied interpretation. By the time they reached adolescence, the twins' behavior had escalated to something darker. They became fixated on the idea of one of them dying so the other could live a normal life. This macabre obsession consumed them, and they began to act out in increasingly destructive ways, setting fires, committing petty crimes, and pushing the boundaries of their own sanity. It was during this time that the twins were sent to Broadmoor, high-security psychiatric hospital, where their disturbing behavior only intensified. The staff at Broadmoor were horrified by the twins' actions. They were like two halves of a single mind, locked in a deadly dance of codependence and rivalry. As the years passed, it became clear that the twins had made a pact. One of them had to die so the other could be free. In a chilling twist of fate, Jennifer fell ill suddenly and died under mysterious circumstances. Her death was as strange and inexplicable as her life had been, with no clear cause found in the autopsy. The surviving twin, June, was finally freed from the bond that had held her captive for so long. After Jennifer's death, she began to speak, slowly reintegrating into society, but the scars of her past would never fully heal. The story of the silent twins is one of the most perplexing and eerie tales of psychological horror. It is a testament to the power of the human mind to create and destroy, to the terrifying depths of isolation and obsession, and to the thin line between reality and madness. The twins' story remains a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lie within us all, mysteries that, once uncovered, can never be fully understood or explained. The farmhouse at Hinterkaifeck, located in the dense woods of Bavaria, Germany, was an isolated, weather-beaten structure surrounded by the quiet solitude of the countryside. On March 31, 1922, this rural home was home to the Gruber family: Andreas, his wife Kazilia, their daughter Victoria, and her two children, Kazilia and Joseph. They were an ordinary family living an unremarkable life, with the farmhouse serving as their shelter from the harsh winds and biting cold of the Bavarian winters. The Gruber family lived in a time when the world outside their farm was rapidly changing, yet their lives seemed untouched by the turbulence of modernity. The farmhouse, with its creaking wooden beams and drafty windows, stood as a relic of a bygone era. It was a place of simple routines and familiar patterns, where the scent of fresh bread and the sound of farm animals were constants. But something was amiss at Hinterkaifeck. The family had noticed strange occurrences leading up to the day of the murders: footprints in the snow that did not belong to any of them, odd noises coming from the attic, and a strange, unsettling feeling that seemed to hang in the air. Despite their unease, they dismissed these events as the product of overactive imaginations or the peculiarities of rural life. On the night of March 31st, a chilling silence enveloped Hinterkaifeck as the Gruber family settled in for the evening. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows and shaking the roof, while the family huddled together in the warmth of the hearth. The calm of the night was abruptly shattered by a series of unsettling noises: a creaking floorboard, a distant thud, and an eerie guttural sound that seemed to come from within the walls of the house. Andreas Gruber, a stoic and practical man, decided to investigate. He went outside, following the faint sounds through the snow-covered fields, but found nothing amiss. When he returned, his family had already begun to show signs of increasing anxiety. They huddled together in the kitchen, the warmth of the fire doing little to ease their growing sense of dread. As the night wore on, the unsettling noises continued, becoming more frequent and more pronounced. The family tried to ignore them, but the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly oppressive. The sounds seemed to come from all around them, as if the house itself was alive with malevolent intent. The situation reached a critical point when Victoria's child, Kazilia, was found wandering through the house in a state of distress. Her cries of fear pierced the quiet night, adding to the mounting sense of terror that gripped the family. The unsettling events reached their peak when a loud crash echoed through the farmhouse, followed by a chilling silence. The following morning, the Gruber family was found brutally murdered. The scene was one of horror and confusion. Each member of the family had been killed in a brutal manner, their bodies discovered in different locations throughout the house. The brutal slaying seemed almost ritualistic, with each victim suffering a horrifying fate at the hands of their unseen assailant. The police investigation revealed a nightmarish scene. The farmhouse was in disarray, with evidence of a violent struggle scattered throughout. The murders were so violent that it seemed the attacker had a personal vendetta against the family, and the brutality of the killings left the investigators grappling with the sheer horror of what had transpired. Stranger still was the discovery of evidence that suggested the killer had stayed in the house after the murders, using the kitchen and the rooms as if they were their own. The footprints in the snow, which had originally been dismissed as the product of an overactive imagination, now took on a sinister significance. They were the tracks of the killer, who had entered and exited the house with impunity, leaving behind a trail of terror. The investigation revealed that the perpetrator had an intimate knowledge of the Gruber family and their routines. The brutality and methodical nature of the killings suggested that the assailant had a personal connection to the victims. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the identity of the killer remained elusive. The most chilling revelation came when investigators discovered that the killer had left behind a single item, a cryptic note written in a foreign script, its meaning forever lost to time. The note, along with the footprints and other evidence, suggested that the killer had planned the murders meticulously, leaving behind a haunting reminder of their presence. The case became one of the most infamous unsolved murders in German history, a chilling reminder of the dark secrets that can lurk behind the facades of even the most ordinary lives. Hinterkaifeck became a place of legend, its story retold through generations as a cautionary tale of the unknown horrors that can lie in wait. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved, a dark enigma that continues to fascinate and horrify. The farmhouse itself fell into ruin, its walls echoing with the ghosts of past. The story of the Gruber family serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of human life and the darkness that can lie hidden beneath the surface of everyday existence. The mystery of Hinterkaifeck endures, a chilling testament to the horrors that can unfold in the most unexpected places. The farmhouse stands as a silent witness to a tragedy that defied explanation, its secrets locked away forever in the shadows of the Bavarian countryside. Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world, stands as a formidable barrier between humanity and the heavens. Its icy slopes and treacherous conditions have claimed many lives over the years. Among the climbers who attempted to conquer this giant were the Yates expedition team, who set out in the early spring of 1924, driven by the dream of reaching the summit. The group was composed of seasoned climbers, including Edward and Maria Yates, a married couple known for their determination and skill. As they approached Everest, their excitement was palpable. The base camp buzzed with anticipation, and the climbers prepared for their ascent, unaware of the malevolent force that lurked in the mountain's shadows. On April 15th, the Yates team began their ascent, making steady progress up the mountain. However, as they climbed higher, they encountered an unusual and unnerving phenomenon. an inexplicable chill that seemed to follow them. Strange whispers echoed through the wind, and their equipment malfunctioned without explanation. At night, they heard disembodied voices calling their names, a sound that carried over the howling wind. The team was unnerved but pressed on, believing the disturbances were merely the product of fatigue and harsh environment. Yet the phenomena continued, growing more intense with each passing day. As the team reached the higher camps, their situation worsened. One night, a member of the group, Harold, disappeared from his tent without a trace. His companions searched desperately, but found no sign of him. The remaining climbers experienced disturbing dreams and saw shadowy figures in the snow, adding to their growing fear. The team decided to push forward, hoping that reaching the summit would end their ordeal. As they neared the top, the temperature plummeted, and the wind howled with a deafening intensity. The once familiar landscape became a twisted maze of ice and rock, and the climbers felt an overwhelming sense of dread. On April 20th, as they neared the summit, the final climber, Maria, experienced a terrifying vision. A ghostly figure clad in old-fashioned climbing gear appeared before her, reaching out with skeletal hands. The apparition's eyes were hollow, and it seemed to whisper warnings of impending doom. In a final desperate attempt to reach the summit, the remaining climbers pressed on. But as they reached the top, the wind reached a deafening roar, and the ground beneath them began to tremble. The climbers were engulfed by an icy storm, their bodies swept away by the howling winds. The Yates expedition was never heard from again. The search parties that were sent to find them reported strange occurrences, mysterious footsteps in the snow, unexplainable sounds, and an overwhelming sense of unease. The phantom of Mount Everest, it seemed, had claimed its victims, leaving only whispers of their fate in the winds that blow across the highest peak. Nestled on the outskirts of New Orleans, the Belcourt Mansion was a grand estate built in the late 19th century. Its opulent design and sprawling grounds made it a symbol of wealth and prestige. The mansion was home to the Belcourt family, known for their extravagant parties and social prominence. But beneath the grandeur of the estate, there was an unsettling history. The Belcourt family had been plagued by a series of tragic events. Accidents, illnesses, and untimely deaths. Whispers of a curse hung over the mansion, but the family dismissed these as mere superstition. In 1925, the mansion was sold to a new owner, Charles Harrington, an ambitious entrepreneur who saw the estate as a prime investment. Harrington and his family moved in, eager to enjoy the luxury of their new home. However, they quickly discovered that the mansion harbored a dark presence. Strange occurrences began almost immediately. The family reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, doors that opened and closed on their own, and chilling drafts that seemed to come from nowhere. The atmosphere of the mansion grew increasingly oppressive, and the Harringtons found themselves plagued by unsettling nightmares and inexplicable fears. The situation worsened over the following months. Objects in the mansion began to move on their own, and a series of ghostly apparitions started to appear. The most frightening of these was a spectral figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing, who seemed to wander the halls of the mansion with a mournful expression. One night, the Harringtons hosted a grand dinner party, but the event was marred by a series of bizarre and terrifying incidents. Guests reported seeing ghostly figures in the mirrors and hearing eerie whispers from the walls. The atmosphere of the party turned to one of palpable dread, and many guests left in a state of panic. On the night of December 31st, as the year drew to a close, the mansion was engulfed in a series of violent and inexplicable phenomena. The temperature plummeted, and the mansion was filled with a cacophony of ghostly wails and screams. The Harrington family, trapped within the mansion, experienced a terrifying vision of the mansion's tragic past. Scenes of violence and despair that seemed to come to life before their eyes. In the midst of the chaos, Charles Harrington disappeared without a trace, and the rest of the family was left in a state of terror. The mansion itself seemed to come alive with malevolent intent, its walls echoing with the anguished cries of lost souls. The Belcourt mansion was abandoned shortly after the events of that fateful night. The estate fell into disrepair, and the once grand home became a symbol of the dark forces that had claimed its inhabitants. Local legends speak of the mansion's curse and the restless spirits that continue to haunt its halls, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurk behind its decaying facade. The MS Arong Medan was a cargo ship sailing under a Dutch flag, known for its routine voyages between Southeast Asia and Europe. In June 1947, the ship embarked on a seemingly ordinary journey from the port of Singapore to the Dutch East Indies. The crew and passengers were unaware that this voyage would end in a chilling mystery. The ship was carrying a cargo of general goods, and its voyage proceeded without incident until it encountered a series of strange and unexplainable phenomena. Crew members reported feeling a sense of foreboding and unease, but these feelings were dismissed as mere anxiety. On June 19, 1947, the ship's distress signal was received by nearby vessels, indicating that something had gone terribly wrong. The message was fragmented and nonsensical, containing only a few words. All officers, including the captain, dead in the chart room and on the bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. The message ended abruptly, leaving the receiving ships in a state of confusion and alarm. A rescue vessel, the SS Silver Star, was dispatched to investigate. When it arrived at the location of the MS Arong Medan, the ship was found drifting aimlessly. The rescue crew boarded the vessel, only to find a scene of horror. The ship was eerily silent, and the crew members were discovered dead in their positions, their faces frozen in expressions of terror. As the rescue crew explored the ship, they encountered a series of unsettling and inexplicable phenomena. The bodies of the crew were discovered in various states of distress. Some were found collapsed at their stations. Others were discovered in the process of seemingly futile attempts to escape. The ship's cargo hold was found to be filled with an unidentifiable, noxious substance, adding to the mystery of the disaster. The atmosphere on the ship grew increasingly oppressive, and the rescue crew reported feeling a sense of dread that seemed to permeate every corner of the vessel. As the investigation continued, the crew of the SS Silver Star encountered a final, terrifying revelation. The ship's engines began to malfunction, and a thick, dark fog enveloped the vessel. The crew felt an overwhelming sense of impending doom as the ship's hull began to creak and groan. Suddenly, the MS Arong Medan was engulfed in a violent explosion, sending debris and wreckage scattering into the sea. The rescue vessel barely escaped the blast, and the remaining survivors were left to grapple with the horror they had witnessed. The fate of the MS Arong Medan remains one of the great maritime mysteries. The ship's disappearance and the strange events surrounding its final moments have never been fully explained. The wreckage of the vessel was never recovered, and the story of the MS Arong Medan remains a haunting reminder of the unknown dangers that can lurk in the depths of the ocean. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, embarked on a solo trip to Los Angeles in January 2013. She was staying at the Cecil Hotel, a historic and notorious establishment with a dark reputation. The Cecil Hotel, known for its grim history, had been the site of numerous tragic events and unsolved mysteries, including the notorious serial killer Richard Ramirez. Lamb's visit started off normally. She was excited to explore the city, sharing updates about her travels on social media. However, as January drew to a close, Lamb vanished, sparking a search that would ultimately lead to unsettling revelations. Elisa Lamb was last seen on January 31st, 2013, after she left her room for a day of sightseeing. Her family grew concerned when she failed to maintain contact, and they reported her missing. The hotel staff and authorities conducted a search but found no trace of her. Weeks passed, and guests at the hotel began to complain about low water pressure and a strange taste in the water. An inspection of the rooftop water tanks revealed Lamb's lifeless body floating inside. The discovery was shocking and raised numerous questions about how she ended up there. The investigation into Lamb's death uncovered disturbing footage from the hotel's elevator security cameras. The footage showed Lamb behaving erratically, pressing multiple elevator buttons, and peering out into the hallway as if trying to escape from something unseen. Her movements were frantic and uncoordinated, fueling speculation about her mental state and the circumstances of her death. Further scrutiny revealed that Lamb had been submerged in the water tank for several weeks. The decomposition of her body had contaminated the hotel's water supply, leading to a health crisis among the guests. The hotel's reputation was further tarnished by the horrifying discovery, and the circumstances surrounding her death became a subject of intense media scrutiny. The elevator footage quickly went viral, igniting a flurry of theories and speculations about Lamb's death. Some suggested she was being pursued by an unseen entity, while others proposed more sinister explanations, including possible foul play or a mental health crisis. The footage's eerie nature and the bizarre circumstances of her death fueled a wide range of theories, but none provided conclusive answers. As the investigation continued, the final moments of the footage showed Lamb's behavior reaching a disturbing climax. She appeared to interact with an invisible presence before her tragic end in the water tank. The footage's haunting quality added to the mystery surrounding her death. Elisa Lamb's death remains one of the most enigmatic and unsettling cases in recent memory. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the true nature of her death remains unknown. The Cecil Hotel, with its dark history and unsettling atmosphere, continues to be a symbol of mystery and the inexplicable, leaving a chilling legacy for those who encounter its troubled past. The 1982 film Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg, was a commercial and critical success, known for its chilling portrayal of supernatural hauntings. However, the film's production was overshadowed by a series of tragic and unexplained events that came to be known as the Poltergeist curse. The film, set in a suburban home plagued by malevolent spirits, was notable for its use of real skeletons in some scenes, a decision that would later be cited as the origin of the film's curse. The production was fraught with accidents, injuries, and untimely deaths, contributing to the eerie reputation of the film. During the filming of Poltergeist, several actors and crew members experienced disturbing incidents. The most notable was the death of Dominique Dunne, who played the role of Dana Freeling. Dunne was murdered by her ex-boyfriend in 1982, just months after the film's release. Her death was a tragic and violent end to a promising career. The film also faced a series of accidents and injuries on set. Many of the actors reported feeling an unusual sense of dread and unease while filming, and some experienced unexplained phenomena, such as equipment malfunction and strange occurrences. As the years passed, the curse seemed to continue with a series of tragic events. Heather O'Rourke, who played the role of Carol in Freeling, died unexpectedly of an intestinal issue in 1988 at the age of 12. Her death was a devastating blow to the cast and crew, and it fueled rumors of a curse surrounding the film. Several other cast and crew members experienced health problems and tragic events in the years following the film's release. The connection between these incidents and the film's production was widely discussed, with many attributing the misfortunes to the use of real skeletons and the film's exploration of dark and supernatural themes. The film's legacy became tainted by the curse, with each new tragedy adding to the growing legend of the poltergeist curse. The unsettling series of events surrounding the film left an indelible mark on its history, transforming it from a mere horror film into a symbol of supernatural misfortune. The final tragedy, the death of actor Julian Beck, who played the role of the malevolent Reverend Cain, further cemented the curse's reputation. Beck's death from stomach cancer in 1985 was another chapter in the eerie and unsettling narrative that surrounded the film. The poltergeist curse remains one of the most intriguing and chilling aspects of the film's history. The tragic events and unexplained phenomena associated with the film continue to captivate and horrify audiences, serving as a haunting reminder of the potential dangers that lurk in the world of supernatural storytelling. On Christmas Eve 1945, the Sauter family, led by George and Jenny Sauter, celebrated the holiday with their 10 children in their rural home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The family was known for their close-knit bonds and their vibrant, joyous celebrations. That night, the Sauters settled in for the evening, their home adorned with holiday decorations and the air filled with warmth and cheer. As the family prepared for bed, a strange event occurred. An unexpected phone call at midnight, followed by a series of power outages that caused the Christmas lights to flicker. Despite the peculiar occurrences, the Sauters went to sleep, unaware that their lives were about to be shattered by an unimaginable tragedy. At around 1 a.m., a fire broke out in the Sauter home. George and Jenny, awakened by the smoke and flames, desperately tried to save their children. They managed to escape with their 2 youngest children, but were unable to reach the other 5 who were believed to be asleep in the upper floor. As the fire raged, the Sauters could only watch in horror as their home was consumed by flames. Despite efforts to call for help and attempts to rescue their children, the fire department arrived too late to prevent the destruction of the house. In the aftermath, the Sauters were devastated to find no remains of their children, leading to a chilling mystery that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. In the days and weeks following the fire, George and Jenny Sauter received conflicting reports and unsettling information. Witnesses claimed to have seen suspicious figures in the area on the night of the fire, and some reported seeing a strange, unmarked car near the Sauter home. The investigation into the fire revealed several anomalies. The fire was unusually intense, and the fire chief noted that the remains of the house did not contain any of the expected debris from the burnt structure. No bones or identifiable remains were found, despite the fact that the fire was said to have consumed everything in its path. The Sauters began to receive anonymous letters and phone calls hinting that their children might still be alive. The couple conducted their own investigation, finding clues that suggested their children had been kidnapped rather than perishing in the fire. They discovered evidence that their home had been surveilled prior to the fire and that some of their neighbors had acted suspiciously. In 1949, the Sauters received a photograph from a woman in a distant state who claimed it showed their missing children. The image, which appeared to show a group of children resembling the Sauter children, reignited their hopes and fears. The family embarked on a cross-country search, following leads and investigating every possible clue. Despite their efforts, the search yielded no concrete results. The case remained unresolved, and the Sauters' quest to find their children was met with numerous setbacks and dead ends. The mystery deepened as the family continued to receive cryptic messages and sightings of their children that led to nowhere. The disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries. The fire, the conflicting evidence, and the lack of definitive answers left the Sodder family with more questions than resolutions. The case of the missing Sodder children is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind seemingly ordinary events and the pain of unresolved mysteries. The Riddle House, an old mansion located in the small town of Seabrook, Massachusetts, was known for its rich history and picturesque charm. Built in the early 1800s, the house had served various functions over the years, including a private residence and a boarding house. Its most recent occupants, the Matthews family, had purchased the home in the 1960s, drawn by its historical significance and quaint appeal. The Matthews family, John, his wife Margaret, and their two children, settled into their new home, eager to explore its secrets and enjoy its spacious rooms. Little did they know that the Riddle House harbored a dark and malevolent presence that would soon make itself known. Shortly after moving in, the Matthews family began to experience a series of unsettling events. Strange noises echoed through the house at night. Footsteps in empty rooms, doors slamming shut, and disembodied voices whispering in the darkness. The family members reported feeling an oppressive presence that seemed to follow them wherever they went. Margaret Matthews, in particular, was disturbed by a recurring nightmare in which she saw a shadowy figure lurking in the corners of the house. The figure seemed to be watching her and her family, and its presence was accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread. As the disturbances continued, the family sought the help of paranormal investigators. The investigators found evidence of supernatural activity, cold spots, unexplained fluctuations in temperature, and electronic disturbances. However, their attempts to communicate with the spirits were met with hostility, and they were unable to identify the source of the haunting. The haunting grew more intense over time. Objects in the house began to move on their own, books flying off shelves, furniture shifting positions, and eerie apparitions appearing in the corners of rooms. The Matthews family members were plagued by vivid and terrifying dreams, each one more unsettling than the last. One night, the family experienced a particularly harrowing event. While John and Margaret were in bed, their children reported seeing a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their beds, watching them with hollow, malevolent eyes. The figure seemed to move through walls and disappear, leaving behind an air of palpable fear. The investigators returned to the Riddle House, this time armed with more advanced equipment. They conducted a thorough investigation and discovered a hidden room in the basement, filled with old, dusty artifacts and strange symbols. The room seemed to emanate a malevolent energy, and the investigators believed it to be the source of the haunting. The Matthews family decided to hold a seance in an attempt to communicate with the spirits and uncover the truth behind the haunting. The seance was conducted in the hidden room, and as the investigators attempted to contact the entities, the atmosphere became increasingly charged with supernatural energy. During the seance, the temperature dropped dramatically, and the room was filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. The spirits, angered by the intrusion, began to manifest violently. The investigators and the Matthews family were subjected to a series of terrifying experiences: objects flying through the air, sudden gusts of cold wind, and disembodied voices screaming in rage. The seance reached a climax when a powerful force seemed to break free from the hidden room. The house was rocked by a series of violent events, windows shattering, doors slamming, and a deafening roar that seemed to come from the very walls. The investigators and the Matthews family were forced to flee the house in terror. The Riddle House was abandoned shortly after the seance, and the Matthews family left town, never to return. The house remained empty, its dark history and malevolent presence a source of local legend and fear. The haunting of the Riddle House serves as a chilling reminder of the dark forces that can lie hidden in the most unsuspecting places and the dangers of delving into the unknown. The Bell Witch, a notorious figure in American folklore, is associated with a series of unexplained and frightening events that took place in Adams, Tennessee, during the early 1900s. The Bell family, consisting of John Bell, his wife Lucy, and their children, lived a peaceful life on their farm until they began to experience strange and supernatural occurrences. The Bell family was known for their hard work and dedication to their farm. Their home was a place of warmth and stability, but their tranquility was shattered when they began to encounter an unseen and malevolent force that would come to be known as the Bell Witch. The disturbances began in 1817, when the Bell family reported hearing strange noises, knocking sounds, rustling in the walls, and eerie, disembodied voices. The disturbances were initially dismissed as the product of overactive imaginations or local mischief, but they soon escalated into more serious and frightening events. The family began to experience physical manifestations of the haunting. Objects in their home would move on their own, and members of the family reported being physically attacked by an unseen entity. The Bell, which seemed to have a particular focus on John Bell, who was subjected to relentless torment and harassment. The Bell Witch's presence became increasingly malevolent. The entity's attacks grew more violent, and the family members experienced a series of disturbing phenomena: bedclothes being pulled off, strange sounds echoing through the house, and unexplained cold spots. The witch's manifestations were accompanied by a feeling of intense fear and unease. One of the most unsettling occurrences was the appearance of a ghostly figure that seemed to follow the family wherever they went. The figure was described as having a spectral, haunting presence and was often seen lurking in the shadows or peering through windows. The Bell Witch also began to communicate with the family in a series of cryptic and threatening messages. The messages, delivered in a haunting and eerie voice, contained warnings and threats that left the family in a state of constant fear. The haunting reached its peak in 1820 when John Bell's health began to deteriorate rapidly. He experienced a series of unexplained and painful symptoms, which are believed to be the result of the Bell Witch's malevolent influence. His condition worsened, and he eventually fell into a coma. As John Bell lay on his deathbed, the Bell Witch's presence became even more intense. The entity's attacks grew more violent, and the family was subjected to a series of terrifying experiences: objects flying through the air, walls shaking, and ghostly wails that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. John Bell died on December 20th, 1820, and his death was attributed to the supernatural forces that had plagued the family. The Bell Witch's influence continued for several more years before eventually fading away. The Curse of the Bell, which remains one of the most famous and unsettling tales of American folklore. The story of the Bell family's ordeal has become a legend, a chilling reminder of the potential for malevolent forces to intrude upon even the most ordinary of lives. The Bell Witch's legacy continues to capture the imagination and fear of those who hear its tale, serving as a haunting example of the unknown. Oak Island, a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, has been the subject of mystery and intrigue for centuries. The island's lore centers around a series of unexplained discoveries and the tantalizing possibility of hidden treasure buried deep within its soil. The quest for the Oak Island treasure began in the late 18th century and has captivated adventurers, treasure hunters, and historians ever since. The island, with its dense forests and rugged terrain, holds a history steeped in mystery. Legends speak of pirates, secret societies, and ancient artifacts hidden beneath the island's surface. The search for treasure has led to numerous excavations, each revealing tantalizing clues but no definitive answers. In 1795, a young boy named Daniel McGinnis discovered a depression in the ground on Oak Island, which led him to believe that there was something hidden beneath the surface. He and his friends began digging, uncovering a layer of flagstones and a mysterious pit. The discovery sparked the beginning of a treasure hunt that would span centuries. Over the years, various groups and individuals undertook excavations on the island, each finding evidence of potential treasure: wooden platforms, strange symbols, and mysterious artifacts. However, their efforts were met with a series of obstacles and setbacks. Flooding, cave-ins, and mechanical failures plagued the excavations, leading to frustration and disappointment. As the search for treasure continued, the island's legend grew more elaborate. Theories emerged about the origins of the treasure and the identity of those who might have buried it. Some believed that the treasure belonged to pirates, while others speculated about the involvement of secret societies or historical figures. One of the most intriguing discoveries was the so-called Money Pit, a deep shaft filled with water and wooden barriers. Despite numerous attempts to drain the pit and continue excavating, the water level remained stubbornly high, and the pit's depths remained unexplored. The search also revealed several mysterious artifacts, including a stone inscribed with cryptic symbols, which some believed to be a map or key to the treasure. However, the stone's true significance remained a mystery, adding to the enigma of the island. The search for the Oak Island treasure reached a dramatic climax in the 20th century when the adventurers faced a series of life-threatening challenges. During one excavation, a sudden flood inundated the pit, causing a collapse that trapped several workers. The rescue operation to free them was fraught with danger, and the incident served as a stark reminder of the island's treacherous nature. Despite the dramatic events and the continued fascination with the island, the treasure remained elusive. The enigma of Oak Island persisted, with each new discovery adding to the island's mystique but failing to provide a definitive answer to the mystery of the buried treasure. The legend of the Oak Island treasure endures as one of the most intriguing and unresolved mysteries in history. The island's secrets remain buried beneath its surface, and the quest for treasure continues to captivate those who seek to unravel its enigmatic past. The story of Oak Island serves a haunting reminder of the allure of hidden riches and the lengths to which people will go in their pursuit of the unknown. The Flannan Isles, a group of remote islands in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, are home to a lighthouse that has become infamous for a mysterious and unexplained event. In December 1900, three lighthouse keepers, Donald MacArthur, James Duckett, and Thomas Marshall, disappeared without a trace, leaving behind an eerie and unsettling mystery. The lighthouse, situated on a rugged and windswept cliff, was essential for guiding ships through the treacherous waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The keepers were responsible for maintaining the light and ensuring the safety of passing vessels. Their sudden disappearance shocked the local community and sparked an intense investigation. On December 15, 1900, a passing ship reported that the lighthouse light was not functioning. Concerned, the ship's captain alerted the authorities, who dispatched a relief vessel to the Flannan Isles to investigate. Upon arrival, the relief crew found a lighthouse in perfect working order, but there was no sign of the keepers. The lighthouse was in disarray. The logbook, which would have recorded the activities and any anomalies, was found to be incomplete. The keepers' personal effects were left behind: clothing, food, and even a meal that had been set but not eaten. The absence of the keepers was perplexing, and their disappearance remained unexplained. The investigation revealed a series of strange and unsettling details. The weather on the night of the disappearance had been calm, making it unlikely that the keepers had been caught in a storm or accident. The lighthouse's equipment was found to be in good working order, with no signs of malfunction. Witnesses reported seeing unusual lights and strange phenomena around the time of the keeper's disappearance. Some claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions or heard strange noises coming from the lighthouse. Theories about supernatural forces or otherworldly entities began to emerge, adding to the mystery of the case. Theories about the keeper's fate ranged from accidental drowning to abduction by unknown forces. Some speculated that the keepers had been overcome by a sudden, unexplained event that had led them to abandon the lighthouse. The investigation reached a dramatic climax when a final, chilling clue was discovered. The keeper's personal log, which had been previously thought to be missing, was found hidden in a drawer. The log contained a cryptic entry describing a sense of impending doom and strange occurrences that had plagued the keepers in the days leading up to their disappearance. The final entry in the log spoke of a great storm and a mysterious presence that had appeared on the island. The entry ended abruptly, leaving the nature of the keeper's final moments shrouded in uncertainty. The disappearance of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers remains one of the most enduring and unsettling maritime mysteries. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the fate of MacArthur, Duckett, and Marshall remains unknown. The lighthouse, with its dark and enigmatic history, continues to stand as a haunting reminder of the unexplained and the supernatural forces that may lurk beyond the reach of human understanding. The McStay family, a seemingly ordinary family of four, vanished from their home in Fallbrook, California in February 2010. Joseph and Summer McStay, along with their two young children, Johnny and Joseph Jr., disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a perplexing mystery that would capture the attention of law enforcement and the public. The disappearance was initially treated as a missing person case, but as time went on, the investigation revealed disturbing clues and a series of chilling developments that suggested a more sinister motive behind their disappearance. The McStay family's disappearance was first noted when friends and family grew concerned about their absence. The family had left behind personal belongings and a car parked in their driveway, suggesting they had left abruptly. Their last known communication was a phone call to a friend, during which they mentioned their plans to travel. Law enforcement conducted an extensive search, but initial efforts to find the family proved fruitless. The case garnered media attention as the days turned into weeks, with no significant leads or explanations for their sudden disappearance. In November 2013, the investigation took a shocking turn when the remains of the McStay family were discovered in a remote desert area near Victorville, California. The remains were buried in shallow graves, and the cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma. The discovery of the bodies shocked the community and raised numerous questions about the family's fate. The investigation revealed that the family had been killed shortly after their disappearance, and evidence suggested that they had been the victims of a planned and violent crime. The investigation into the McStay family's murder led to the arrest of Charles Merritt, a former business associate of Joseph McStay. Merritt was charged with the murders, and evidence presented in court suggested that the crime was motivated by financial disputes and personal grievances. The trial revealed disturbing details about the circumstances of the murders and the subsequent attempts to cover up the crime. The case drew widespread media attention and brought a sense of closure to the McStay family's tragic story. The abduction and murder of the McStay family is a haunting reminder of the potential for violence and betrayal to shatter even the most ordinary lives. The case, with its chilling revelations and the ultimate conviction of Charles Merritt, serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind the facade of everyday life.